You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 154. Are you looking to amp up your marketing game this year? Maybe you're thinking, what should I focus on? What should my strategy include? Are we doing more video or are we going back to photos? With the constant changes with the platforms that we show up on, it's absolutely normal to get confused. Today, we're going to hear from a marketing expert on what the marketing trends are for 2023. So hopefully this helps you narrow down that focus. So without further ado, let's get to it. Hey there, I'm your host, Jessica Fergon, and I am passionate about doing the inner work needed to reach your goals. Let me be your guide as we navigate all the fears and insecurities that surface when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Along with my knowledgeable guests and industry experts, I'm here to teach you how to reawaken your life purpose and passion and create the steps to turn your intentions into action. Ultimately, my goal is to empower you to rise above those blocks holding you back and start living a life that you are worthy and deserving of. So come on, it's time to slow down, find a comfy spot with your favorite organic tea, and get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to the Love Unplugged podcast. Hello, loves. Today I am joined by the lovely Chelsea Ashley. Chelsea is the founder of Chea Media and is an experienced and passionate marketing strategist who specializes in content strategy and data-driven marketing. She graduated with her MA in communications and has 6+ years in marketing. She's worked with over 350 companies to grow their business with content marketing, including large corporations like Stanley Tools, Proof Syrup, and Nesco Skin. So welcome, Chelsea. I'm just so incredibly honored to have you as my guest, and I'm so excited for us to dive into your story and learn all about your expertise. But before we start, for those that don't know of you yet, I would love for you to share a little bit more about you personally.
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica, for having me. I'm really excited to be on your show. Like you said, my name is Chelsea Ashley. I just got married last year. It's been a year and a few months now, and it's so funny because I'm still getting the hang of like introducing my married name, which is Ashley. So it always trips me up every time I'm introducing myself. But yeah, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I moved here right when I got married, and I am absolutely obsessed with this town. It's just north of Nashville, and it's beautiful. It's like a hidden gem. So I'm here with my husband. I have my dog, my cute little poodle mix puppy. He is such a handful, but having him has actually helped me manage my time a lot better in my business. I'm like no longer working crazy hours. I've actually learned how to be a little bit more efficient so that I can like spend more time with him and my husband.
That's having a dog, and a husband and children, of course, is such an incentive for you to kind of look as how you're spending your time in your business and to like be more efficient with it so that you can spend that time with them.
Gosh, yes, yeah, totally. It opened my eyes into how many times I was like wasting, really.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get that. All right, so let's dive into the beginning. Prior to you creating your business, what were you doing? So we know what you went to school or what you were going to school for, but is that what you wanted to do when you were young? Or what was your career like?
Yeah, growing up, I actually thought I was going to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. I was actually on the pre-med track. I actually have my bachelor's in human biology. And while I was pursuing my human biology bachelor's and on the pre-med track, I realized it was not for me. So I actually started a blog kind of showcasing my journey because I couldn't necessarily leave. I really needed to just finish out my bachelor's and I didn't want to pivot, but I needed kind of like an outlet to share my journey. And that blog just randomly had started attracting readers. I really didn't know much about social media at the time. I was just blogging my thoughts away. It was like really this digital journal that really helped me deal with life at the time. And while I was working on the blog, many people actually commented and said like, hey, we recognize like you're struggling, you're wanting to figure out what you want to do. Why don't you look into social media and look into marketing? Because you already have this blog, you really love being online. That's like a really great career option. And so I actually walked myself down to the communications department for my school. This was a health and sciences focused college. So there was really no marketing major or anything like that. The closest connection was the marketing department itself for the school. So I went to the office and asked them like, hey, do you have an internship or a work study program? And I just wanted experience. And thankfully they took me in, they taught me all the things that I needed to know. I had pretty much firsthand experience with all different parts of marketing. Then from there, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. But, as a broke college student, we really needed to make money. And so I found my way in the online space, and I actually got into Pinterest while I was in my junior year of college. And I got into Pinterest, and then I found myself in this Facebook group where people were asking for Pinterest help. So I put my name in. I was like, okay, I can help you with this amount of things. And I was charging $100 for 3 months of Pinterest. Thing. Yeah, because at the time, I didn't know, and I thought, oh my gosh, $100, that's so much, right? Someone's just literally paying me $100 just so I can pin stuff on their board. I got really great results, and then from there, I learned what the online industry was, and I learned more about freelancing. And so I freelanced for quite a bit. I freelanced for a couple of years. And then I officially registered it as an LLC. And so that's kind of how I started my business.
Wow. Okay. So going from having this dream of being a doctor to now
Yeah.
completely like opposite.
Yeah.
How did you feel about like letting go of that dream and all the work that you had put in towards that?
Yeah, it was really hard. Even though I knew I didn't want to be a doctor, it was so hard. I remember made the decision my sophomore year of college. But between my sophomore year and when I graduated college, I went back and forth. That's why I had freelance. I went back and forth. I even interned for the hospital. I even did clinical research. And then I took a job as a clinical research assistant because I was just trying to find ways to make it work. It was my long life dream. It was the only thing I had ever known. So I thought, like, maybe I just need to immerse myself more in different aspects of medicine or something. But and then I even took the MCATs. I took the MCATs, I took the DAT, and I took the GRE because I was like, maybe if I can't be a doctor, I'll be like a dentist. Or if I can't be a dentist, I'll be a PA, physician's assistant. But every single time I was met with resistance. And so it was very, very hard for me to say goodbye and close that chapter. But I knew the moment I accepted, like, okay, I'm going to go all in on my business and go into marketing, that's when I pursued a master's in communications, and it felt really good afterwards.
Wow. Okay. So you talked about resistance. Was some of this resistance your family in any way? Like, how did your family feel about you stepping away from such a solid, like a concrete career? You look at that versus, being an entrepreneur, starting your own business in like the marketing field.
Yeah, exactly. Resistance was my family. That was the biggest and only resistance I was met with. So everyone basically, except my parents, are doctors. Everyone in our family. My cousins are doctors. My direct cousins are dentists. My uncles are doctors. It was kind of all I ever knew and all my parents had envisioned for me. And I will never forget that the day this happened. So my sophomore year in college, I told my dad, this isn't working for me. I don't want to do this. And I was trying to I was trying to negotiate with them, right? So I was saying like, hey, there's a healthcare administration major. Let me just transfer. I don't even have to leave the school. All I have to do is just transfer my credits over. I'm still in the same school. It's going to be fine. And I actually had gotten them to an understanding, or so I had thought. The day that I was supposed to hand in my transfer papers, I woke up to 7 missed calls from my dad saying that, and then he left me a voicemail saying, "You can't do this. You're going to finish all the way through. You're going to give it your all. You're going to apply. And this is a stability. Like, you're not going to throw this away." And that was very hard. And it was because of that I kind of kept trying to find a way to make it work, you know.
How are they now? Seeing that you have a business, you're doing well and whatnot.
Yeah, they love it. They just got them tickets to Italy. So they're going to Italy this December, and they could not complain. Yeah.
They'll come around eventually, right?
Right. Yes. They couldn't imagine a life otherwise. They see me, being on my computer often. They see me working from home. Sometimes there are late nights. Other times I do get to just kind of go home and see them whenever. And then a lot of the times, or not a lot of the times, but there are really great times where, because of my business, I get to treat them and just figure out ways of saying thank you to them. And so they definitely came around.
They probably see how happy you are with this decision that you've made, right? Which, I mean, in the end, that's all parents really want, is to see their children happy and doing well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. I think about my younger sister, because they had the same vision for her. And my sister is 4 years younger than me. And basically, by the time she had entered college, they were completely relaxed with her because they had seen the stress, the pressure, the depression that I was under. And by the time she went to college, they actually gave her free reign. And so she actually graduated with a bachelor's in business, ironically. And she works with me and my team. But yeah, it's funny how that works. In the thick of it, I definitely was very annoyed and upset and angry at my parents.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that that was the only lens that they had. They didn't really know anything else, and they just knew this was the best thing that my daughter can do, and the best thing that she can do for her life, and to set up herself for success.
Yeah, and I think people go through that when they are changing the career that they're planning to go on. Family just wants to see them succeed and to do well and have stability and security and whatnot. So when you choose to go down this avenue that, like, they haven't been brought up to be in that type of environment, or like where entrepreneurship is like a thing, like it can be done and it's like a viable option. It's hard for them to see the value and to see that it can actually work out better than you can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm grateful for how everything played out, definitely.
Amazing. Well, how was your experience? So going from being a freelancer, then turning it into an LLC, and now like officially starting and growing a business. What was your experience doing that?
I would say that it was definitely an interesting one. Maybe common, maybe not so common. As an agency owner, going from freelancer to an official LLC, and then to having a team, they're like really big steps in between. It feels like it's very intense milestones, and it definitely feels like a whole identity shift, right? From freelancer to LLC to full on team, it's like every single chapter, every single step required so much more of me. And I didn't realize it at the time. Like at each step, I just thought, I'm going to apply for my LLC now, or I'm going to look at hiring team. But then it just came with so many different mindset thoughts that needed to be fixed or needed to be shifted, or physical systems that like needed to occur, customer success processes, like all of those things that needed to happen as I went on. And so it was very challenging and very fulfilling at the same time. I feel like I learned so much more about myself, like every single step of the way.
Yeah, those are very big jumps. So I can definitely understand the learning and the growth that must have happened throughout that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely would do it completely differently, probably. I probably would have done mentorship a lot faster or a lot quicker, or even surrounded myself with like other agency owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, did you invest in any kind of support or coaching, or were there things that you did looking back that really helped you in being able to navigate those jumps into the different levels of business?
When I first wanted to start my business, like officially go from freelancer to a full on business owner, I did hire a business coach. And I actually found her from YouTube. She had this really large brand on YouTube, and her whole focus was mainly helping people start her business. And I actually remember sending her an email and being like, the reason why I'm ready for this is because I want to take it seriously. I just lost my first client, or it was my first time losing a client, and I remember it shaking me, even though my first um if I recall correctly, that client was only paying me $300 a month for like a full on social media management work.
Oh my.
Um, I know, right? It's like definitely two times, or no, 10 times that, 10 times that now, for the scope that I was doing with her. I was like on there all the time. But I remember like losing that, it shook me. And I immediately started looking for business coaches, but I didn't know business coaches was a thing at the time. I just simply found this person on YouTube when I was searching up like questions about like starting your own business. And so I found her, and I remember saying like, I can't have this instability, because I had just made that decision. So I was like, I can't have this instability. I need to know how to create a plan that will set me up for success and that will bring me clients on a regular basis. And so I need help. And yeah, and so I had her. While I was also building my business, I actually took positions at agencies. And I wanted to learn from other agencies how they were growing their business and how they were building things up inside out. And so that was also really helpful. And then now, where I'm kind of like trying to expand and step into my multi passionate role more, I'm definitely working with a mentor, Hannah Nieves, who fully embraces her multi passionate role, from being an agency owner to a coach to having a studio and all those.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Hannah. She is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to talk about something that you just mentioned, and that is, losing that client. I think a lot of us can go through that, whether it's actually losing a client, like they choose to leave or cancel their contract with you or whatnot, or you've disappointed a client or you've made an error, things aren't going well. They bring up very difficult feelings that can sometimes block you from moving forward in your business. Like it can actually deter you from wanting to continue. So, how did you manage those emotions in order to be able to take that next step in your business despite that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, when I really think about it, back then, when I first started my business, I was go, go, go. I didn't think, I didn't really have any limiting beliefs. It was more of like fight or flight. Like I needed to survive from leaving what I thought was my calling and my career. And I needed to prove that I could do that quick, right? I needed to prove that to everyone. I needed to prove that to me. I needed to pivot really quickly because I didn't want to take another healthcare related job. And so I didn't think, I just acted, and I was like, okay, this is the problem. Here's a solution. And I kind of just kept going. And now it's funny because, like, now if a client cancels, maybe because they are low on funds and they're trying to like protect their reserves, or let's say we ended a contract and they don't want to renew. When those things happen, I actually get deeper in my thought now than I was back then. And now it's more of like, all the imposter syndromes, all of the like negative thoughts of like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Or what ifs, all these different things. And what really helps me now is I really love the thought model. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Jessica. Um, but the thought model is from Brooke from the Life Coaching Institute. And it's basically jotting it down in this pattern. And she covers the idea of based on your circumstances, you have certain thoughts. And based on the thought you have certain feelings. And the feelings that you have create certain actions, which will cultivate a certain result. And so I will write those letters down. I'll write what the circumstance is, and then I'll rework my thoughts all the way down. And I'll write it down exactly how I feel. Then I'll go back around, repeat the circumstance, but reshift the thought. And so that kind of conscious action helps me understand, like, okay, instead of thinking this client hates me, that's why they're not renewing with me, or that's why they're leaving, the thought could be, no, this client is protecting her own business, protecting her own reserves. We may be going into a recession. They are finding that they can do a lot of these things themselves now that they have more time. That makes me feel like nothing is wrong with me. And I also feel grateful that my clients are empowered and individualized and they're able to take control and initiative for themselves. So the action from that is that I will not self-combust. I won't think crazy things. I won't do crazy things. And the result from that, it just makes me feel more at peace. Result is, okay, let's keep going. We move on to the next client or we move on to the next thing. And so that tool has definitely helped me. And then also just thinking about all of the other clients I currently have, one thought that I have is that if you've sold once, you can sell again. You can always sell again. Like, how to sell and you've done it before, so you'll do it again. And so that helps me and it makes me feel really good knowing, like, hey, I know what I'm doing. People come to me for a reason. It's going to be fine.
I love that. Yeah. I definitely think that a lot of people right now tuning in can take away some great advice from what you just said. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. I'm so glad.
So looking back, what have been your biggest lessons taking all those jumps through the different levels of businesses, getting to where you are at today, that people can learn from as they are also following suit? And what have been some really great wins that you are super proud of?
Biggest lessons. I would say my biggest lessons is to not feel like I can do everything myself. In the sense of, yes, having a team to support you, but also in the sense of community. I wish I learned that early on and stuck with it, but I felt like I was kind of had my blinders on. I felt like I transferred over the feelings from my pre-med track into my marketing track, in the sense that, like, in pre-med, my program was such a small program and everyone was trying to get to the same school, the same internships, all of those things. It was very, very competitive. No one wanted to help anyone, right? We didn't have study buddies. And if we did have study buddies, we were studying on our own at the same location. No one was helping each other. And so I kind of transferred that over into marketing. And I realized later on that it is not at all like that when it comes to growing a business. When it comes to growing your business, you need people, and there are so many people that are more than willing to help you along the way. So I would say that is probably one of my biggest lessons. And then my biggest wins as an entrepreneur in year 5 of my business. And so I think that is such a huge win, since I know that the statistic for businesses is super low in terms of like surviving their first year in business, and then so on and so forth. It gets smaller and smaller in terms of like the success rate. So I think that's a really huge win. And then I also would say cultivating a team. I am obsessed with my team, and because of my team right now, I basically have a project manager and a marketing specialist that's full-time with me, and then we have 2 contractors. Because of my team, I was able to take 2 whole weeks off in September so I could go to a business retreat, and everything was fine. I didn't have to scramble on Slack, scramble to respond to clients, to review things, all these different things. Like, we had systems in place, and my team also knew how to navigate certain issues if they were to arise. And then they also were very productive in all of the projects that they were working on. And so that's such a huge win for me because team culture is everything for me. And I really only sell and try to land clients because of the impact that it, not only, I shouldn't say that, but the huge reason is because it impacts my team directly. And I really, really care for them so much. And so to me, I feel like that's a huge win for me, is making sure my team's happy, making sure that they feel independent and confident in all of the things that they do inside the business, making sure that I feel supported as a result of it, and that our clients are happy because of our team.
That sounds like some great wins, and I love that you've really taken time to create that type of culture within your team, because it definitely goes a long way in helping you, continue to grow and build a business and reputation within the industry, but also, having someone like a team there to support you, knowing that you can fully trust to let go and be able to take that time off as a business owner is huge.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. All right, so let's dive into marketing a bit. What are some ways that we can elevate our marketing strategy next year in 2023?
Yeah, okay. I love this question so much. First one is doubling down on bottom of the funnel things. Most of the time, I should say 90% of the time, people come to us for top of the funnel help, right? So organic social, lead magnet things, paid ads, PR and influencer marketing. They come with us to the top of the funnel. But the best way that you can elevate your marketing strategy now, and even the easiest way I would say, is focusing on all of the things at the end of that. So optimizing your email flows, optimizing your marketing strategy, figuring out how to re-engage everyone that's on your list because they join for a reason. So how can we convert that into sales? And then also how can we convert that into like raving fans? Another one is, I'm sure we've heard this 1,000 times over, but I actually want to do a little bit of a twist, and that is video, right? Adding video to the mix. One thing that we're doing on our website is having this feature called Video Ask. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but I love this feature. And it interacts with the viewer right on the website itself. Like as soon as we land on the page, there's a video ask, video of me talking to them directly, encouraging them to kind of follow the prompt. So there's going to be polls, there's questions, and then at the end of it, it gives them like steps to take. And it's super short, super easy, and very personalized. And it's all video form. So using that in that sense, also using video and email, like 30-second videos of like updates here and there. I think those are some really great personal touches to just elevate your marketing strategy in some easy ways that could be implemented like in the next 24 hours if you wanted.
I love that. So this website video thing, this video ask, or I forget how you mentioned it, but how do you, where do you find that? How do you implement that?
Yeah, so the integration is called Video Ask. It has like a very similar UI, UX as Typeform. Very, very intuitive. But then you create it right on Video Ask. It'll take you through certain flows. You get to decide the end result, all the questions, all those things, and then you embed it on your website. So you can keep it on the tool itself and just, share that tool link. But if you really want to integrate it and really elevate it more, then you can just go ahead and embed it right on the homepage on your website, or even as a pop-up. So you know how like some websites have those chats on the bottom? So instead of those chats, have this video pop-up that's like, hey, Jessica here, how can I help you? And then there's like polls right away. Or like maybe it's like, hey, Jessica here, I'm the founder of Project Love, introduction a little bit, and then being like, hey, choose from one of these 3 things. And then we can go from there. And then every single time they choose something, it's like another video prompt comes up until Or it can even be as simple as like, hey, while you're here, I just want to tell you about my exclusive newsletter. Why don't you pop in your email here, and then I'll meet you in your inbox or something like that. So super easy to integrate, and it's pretty affordable too.
I love that. I love that a lot. Some of the clients that I work with integrate video into elements within their client experience, which is great. It's not needed on every single interaction, but on certain ones where it just elevates that touch point, is just such a great personal touch.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you guys do that.
That's such a great one. All right, so let's talk about trends. So video obviously is a very big trend right now, like integrating more and more and more video on everything. But what other types of things do you see coming in 2023 that we can start working on including in our strategies?
I would say two things. One is experiences, and two is the essence of being bold. So the experience side, people are antsy. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. Is people are antsy. They're done with the pandemic, right? They're ready to go. They're ready to meet people in person again. They're ready to kind of activate their motivation, find momentum in in-person events. But even if in-person events isn't something that you want to do, you can still cultivate a really, really great experience virtually, whether it's a virtual retreat or a boot camp style, or basically focusing on ways that cultivate a experience that lasts, and that's memorable. So if your brand, even if you're a small brand, you can do that, that's something that you can carry with you to whatever it is that you do within your introductions, when you're pitching yourself to places, like people, and then referrals, right? Like the people that show up and experience these moments. I think that's where marketing strategies are kind of dipping into and incorporating. And then being bold, honestly, I think we're all bored. I think we're all bored of seeing the same thing over and over again. I open up Instagram and I'm like, even though I see different usernames, I've seen all of this stuff before. And we recently had a brand shoot with my creative director, and I was telling my creative director, we're doing a whole rebrand, right? New website, new name, new photos, all the things. And she was like, what are you looking for? And I was like, if we've seen it before, we don't want it. If it's been done before, that's going to the trash. We're not doing that, because I'm so bored. I really want to wake people up. I really want to get excited when I see things online. And I think, well, I know most of my clients also feel the same. And so being bold in whether that's your branding, your messaging, the way that you market, this is the first thing that came to mind. But like, hey, if you want to rent out like a blimp in the air and like have this little text that says like, hire Jessica for all things OBM related, like that's cool, that's bold, like we haven't seen that before. But yeah, just kind of thinking out of the box ways that shocks people, that gets people excited, that gets people wanting to stay on social media. I think that's one thing too. It's like the more and more I'm on social media right now, the less I want to be on it and the less I want to interact with people. But that's like such a bad thing, because that's how we grow our business right now. And so what are some ways, like thinking about the ways that we can be bold will only create better results and better, and will only yield to sales in the future.
That is like fire. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, even myself, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Everyone's done it. I've seen it a billion times. Like, it just feels like everything's been done and it's just being repeated all the time. And, like, not to say that, that's not okay. All these people, I mean, good for you, because sometimes it is really hard to create all these reels and stuff like that. And the creativity and sometimes like that is difficult to come up with ideas. So like, all the power to you for even like doing it. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome, because even I've had to be like, I'm just going to point at things on my screen because this is just not my cup of tea. It's like, I just want to be behind the scenes doing my thing. So coming up with all these creative ways to market myself, it's challenging at times, right? So I
Yeah.
like, not to shame that, but this is just getting old, right? Like it's getting old and it's ruining the fun of being on social media because it's just so saturated now with the same stuff, and the creativity and the uniqueness is just so watered down. Um, like, what can we be doing? Like, how do you differentiate yourself? Like, so this kind of goes into my next question is like,
Yeah.
what are some fun things that we can do to share our expertise, our offers, and all that type of stuff, so that we're mixing things up when, our content is getting boring or like repeated or stale?
That's such a good question. So okay, I think what I'm going to say is about to contradict everything, but it will make sense. Okay, so follow me to the end. So I was on a intensive with a client. She came to me because she needed help just getting her content out there. And I was talking to her about her current content strategy. And I was like, what do you love? Like, what is working for you? And she's like, what's working for me right now is captions. I write fire captions. My captions are amazing. That's where I pop off. I love it so much. And I'm like, okay, what do you hate? What's your weakness? And she's like, reels. I hate reels. I hate stories. I hate video. I immediately just kind of turtle up when I have to do video. Like, I don't get to share my true thought leadership topics and ideas when I have to go on video. And I was like, okay, what if you create these captions and then you just copy and paste to your carousels, copy and paste to your reels? Like, literally either say it, and if that feels uncomfortable, then write it as a text. Let it last a few seconds, move on to the next text. And then spread this out over the course of like 3 weeks, right? And she only wanted to post 3 times. So great. That means people are going to, you can post the same thing 2 more times the following 2 weeks. She was like, that's rebellious. Can we do that? Can I do that? I'm like, why not? Does that sound fun to you? And she's like, yeah, that sounds so fun to me. And that sounds so easy. Sounds so fun. Sounds so easy. Sounds so rebellious. I'm going to do it. I'm like, great. Let's do that. Let's see what happens. She does that the next 3 weeks after. She's getting more engagement, more DMs, and more website clicks. Because one of the biggest problems we saw was like, okay, Instagram isn't giving her the reach, right? That led into a cycle of like her not wanting to create content because she felt people weren't seeing it. Not only that, she also didn't want to create any more content that she didn't like to do. She only wanted to focus on her zone of genius. And so I feel like when we try to do other things that don't light us up, things that are not fun, we're not letting our zone of genius shine. But when we focus on what is our zone of genius and kind of work backwards from there, that's fun, right? So it's bold in the sense of like every Instagram expert is going to say, don't do that. But look at the results that worked, right? The results that it yielded. It helped her. It was fun for her. It was exciting for her. And so that's kind of one way that I instantly came up in my mind, and I wanted to share that. And then a second thing I would say is, what is something that's on your list that you've wanted to do, but like that's somewhat scary, right? So for example, for me, I've always wanted to bake just random things. Like, I'll just look at like what I've always wanted to do is look at what's in my pantry, look at what's in my fridge, put it into this website recipe maker thing, and then see what it says it can make me. Even if I don't like it, or even if I don't know if I'm gonna like it, like, let's make that. That's fun for me. I did that the first time the other day. While I was doing it, I was literally just thinking about things for my business and things that I wanted to share in content. I immediately recorded myself on my phone of all of those ideas and then wrote it down afterwards after I baked. And that was fun because it was like outside of business, and it made me think of new original ideas because I was already in this kind of like mindset and energy that forced me to step outside of my comfort zone. So 2 ways, one that's kind of maybe blah, I don't know, you can let me know if that's hitting Jessica, and then another way that's kind of like, yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. I love both of those. I do want to go back to something that you said. Can I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've said this so many times. I've heard so many other people say that, like, can we do that? Like, is that okay? And
Yeah.
why can't you? Like, I always remind myself, I'm like, whenever I'm asking that question, whether it was like to Hannah, when I was working with her, I'm like, can I do that? Or, is it okay if I do this or something? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm the business owner. This feels good to me. Why the hell can't I do it? Like, there are no rules with social media. You can do whatever like aligns with your brand and your values and your mission and like just the way that you show up, your personality, all that type of stuff. There's no like hard set rules that this is how everybody has to create content. This is how everybody has to post and show up. This is how everybody has to do XYZ.
Exactly. Once you get to a certain point in your business, there's obviously certain guidelines, certain benchmarks that you need to follow if you want to hit X, Y, and Z. But aside from that, like things that are supposed to be fun, right? That are supposed to come naturally, like content, like social media. It was created so that you can just pick up your phone, share the status, like literally share your current status, share your current thoughts, and then put it back down. It's crazy to me that people have to think twice about that and be like, is this okay? Of course, like you said, it's your business. You can do whatever the F you want to do. And it's not going to ruin your bottom line as long as you're staying true to your own mission, your own vision, your own values, and just truly having fun with it.
Exactly. And I feel like energy kind of comes into it a little bit. Like if you're doing it from a place of like, oh, I'm dreading this, I hate it, it's not aligned like with me and how I want to show up, but I feel like I have to. Like I feel like people can pick that up through what you've created versus the energy that comes along with doing something that just feels good and feels fun to you and it's aligned with who you are and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was, I love that you went and just started baking and doing something else that was just like business free, but creative, so that you were already in that zone of being creative, which allowed you to just naturally think of things as they came.
Oh, yeah. I mentioned it in the beginning of this podcast episode. It's like, I'm really pushing myself to step into my multi-passionate role. I've really been rejecting that over the past couple of years, especially when I've been trying to intensely grow my business. And so, because of that, I'm intentionally putting myself in situations where, like, okay, this is what I want to do. Cool, let's do it. And so, right now, I'm actually training for a half marathon. I've never been into running my whole life, ever. I've always been more of a weightlifter. Like, in college, I used to powerlift. And so, cardio is not my thing at all. My husband was like, hey, we should do this. Basically, so where we live in Chattanooga, we live in downtown and we live by the water. And it is the hotspot for the Ironman. So the Ironman happens twice in this town. People from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, come to race and then to support their racers. And every single time, we're in the dead middle of it, of the pathway. So 3 times now since I've been here, the roads shut down. And so I see it. And so this last time my husband was like, we should run. And I was like, the Ironman? There's no way. Because the Ironman is like a whole marathon and biking and swimming. And I was like, this is not my destiny. And he was like, no, we should just do a half marathon. And so, yeah, we are doing a half marathon in March. I'm doing a 5K in Thanksgiving. And or just doing it. It's been really cool to kind of like step away from my office, go for a run, train. And yeah, it's like this whole other part of my life that's just really, really fun and not taxing at all.
I love that. That's so great. Okay, that kind of leads into, my next question is like, how do you structure your time, being in the business of, marketing and social media and whatnot, so that you are able to create some healthier boundaries. Because as you know, managing social media, creating content and whatnot, it can be very time consuming. So how can we, better manage that task so that we're able to spend more time in other areas of our business that we really, really love and that are our zones of genius, but also be able to have a life outside of business?
Yeah, I love this question so much because for a long time I've definitely struggled with this. Sometimes I still struggle with it. Sometimes when I wake up, I'm tempted to like just open up Instagram. But I actually, I think you'll resonate with this, Jessica, but I love systems so much. If I can set things up so that I don't have to think, I'm going to opt for that. So I do two things. One is I set my phone notifications on a summary basis. So basically, I have my notifications set up so that if it's not calling or actual texting, like someone's texting my phone, I'm not going to receive the notification until the 3 times that I set it within the day. So I have a noon setup. So at 12, it'll give me a summary of everything that happened from waking up to 12 p.m. Then at 3 p.m., I'll have a 3 p.m. summary. And then at 8 p.m., I'll have an 8 p.m. summary. And so I'm not tempted. So I'm like making sure that I don't miss any notifications, and it'll just give me like a detailed synopsis of everything. But at the same time, I'm not being inundated with like pings all the time and being tempted to see my phone, right? Because that's kind of what triggered me, was like I would see these notifications come up and that would only push me to open my phone. Like, how many times have we exited Instagram only to come back on it literally the next second? Like, that's happened to me so many times. And so that system has helped me. I've also put limits on my phone for certain apps. So I do it for all of my social media apps and my email app, from 8:30 p.m. or no, 10:30 p.m. to 8:30 a.m. I don't get any notifications at all. And it also time limits. So like I can't open Instagram, I can't open Facebook, can't open email during those times. I can't even open Slack. Well, I can like override the system, obviously, but that little pop-up that's just like, hey, you've reached your time limit, or you have a time limit on this, you cannot go back in. That's already like it zaps my brain to thinking like, okay, we can't do this. Like, let's get out of this pattern, right? And then the second thing, that kind of boundary that I've set with social media, is this helps me with staying consistent with my content and being online, is just making sure that before I even open up ClickUp, before I even touch base with my team, before I do anything in my business, I'm going to either post what I'm doing on Instagram stories and share my thoughts for the day, or I'm going to do like a mini training just to show my expertise. And I'll post. And so I'll just do that from the very beginning so that I don't forget it and I don't think about it, and then I'm done. And then I can go straight into work. And once I'm in work, I usually rarely touch my phone anyways, because I'm also not getting the notifications. So that's been like a really great system for me so far.
What phone do you have?
I have the iPhone. Do you have an iPhone?
No, I'm a Samsung girl. So I'm like, like I do have some of those settings, but I'm like, I wonder if I can do the same with like the no notifications for certain, like until like 3:12 or whatever. That's really interesting. I love that, the summary notifications.
Yes. Okay. I've had so many Samsung lovers tell me that Samsung's ahead of the game. So maybe do a little bit of Google search, Jessica, and see what you can come up with. Because I'm sure you have something.
There's got to be something. I'll find it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I love that tool. Like without it, I'm sure I would be stuck on social media all day.
I know, like the notifications, I constantly find myself going back to the app or opening up my email or something like that, or Slack. And I'm just like, oh my God, like you just need to stop.
Right, yeah. Or like, yes, the email thing. Like I guarantee I probably spend 30 minutes a day just refreshing my email.
Oh God.
Such a waste of time.
You're not alone with that. I totally get it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's talk about your offerings. What do you have available to support your community?
Yeah, so this quarter specifically, we're focusing on booking out our VIP weeks, and my private coaching. So I, my team and I, within our agency, we do have monthly marketing services, but we planned for them to be booked out by the end of 2022. So this year, 2023, or at least this quarter, just for this quarter, we're really only we only have capacity for our VIP weeks, our VIP days, and our my one-on-one coaching. So VIP weeks, I'm so obsessed with this offer. It is 90 days of content in 1 week. That's 90 days of content we deliver, and we'll even schedule it out for you in 1 week. So this includes your Instagram, or your chosen platform of social media content. 99% of the time, it's Instagram and Instagram Reels. This also includes 12 newsletters, so one per week, and 12 blog posts. So we literally create your whole content system for the following quarter, or not the following quarter, basically whatever 90-day schedule that you have. These are really great for like when people are planning their launch and they want to start nurturing 90 days out or 60 days out, or if people know that they're going to be super busy during the time, or they're going on vacation, or maybe they just don't want to handle content on their own, but they don't want to have a social media manager or a content manager. This VIP week is like the best offer for that. And then we also have a VIP day, which is just a marketing day with me. It's 5 hours. We go through and create your marketing strategy, create a marketing plan. And that's really kind of like a customized thing. Like we have a questionnaire beforehand, and we figure out what we want to do and what we want to talk about and what we want to accomplish in that session beforehand. So that's just custom for every single client. And then my one-on-one coaching is for done for you service providers. So any service provider who really wants to grow their business, but also have like a successful, sustainable business while working 20 hours a week. That's my private coaching. I'm really excited about it. I coached a lot in 2020, and then I took a step back to focus on growing and scaling my agency. And now I'm getting back into it, and I'm really excited for this offer because it's like, it's just such an intimate moment for me and my clients, and I get to watch them grow and guide them through all of that. So yeah, those are kind of my three signature offers for this time being.
I love that. And I love the weekly VIP or the week VIP. That's an amazing offer.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we just perfected the system. After like maybe a dozen times, we've perfected a system that works between my team and I, as well as the client. And it's really full on converting content. Like we do a deep dive on the tone and the messaging of their business before we even like do the content itself, because we want to make sure it's going to speak and it's going to convert. And so yeah, it's so great. I'm obsessed with it.
That's awesome. Now, where can people connect with you if they want to chat more about your services or if they just want to learn more from you?
Yes, so you can find me on cheamedia.com. And then if you do a Google search, our old brand name will probably come up, and it was Fempreneur HQ. We just rebranded. And then our social media handles will also be Chea Media Co.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your incredible insights, your expertise, and your knowledge and services are just so needed. So thank you for, sharing all of that with us. And I cannot wait for people to tune in today because they're going to have so many takeaways on how they can make their content strategy just so much more fun in 2023 and using all of the different trends that you talked about today in that. So thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. This was awesome.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.